What if I told you that the devices you use every day, the way you interact with technology, the very landscape of our modern world, was profoundly shaped by a college dropout, a rebel, a visionary who saw not just products, but magic? This is the extraordinary, often tumultuous, and utterly transformative life story of Steve Jobs. Our story begins not with a grand vision, but in the unassuming suburbs of Palo Alto, California. Born in 1955, adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, Steve grew up in the heart of Silicon Valley, a place brimming with innovation. His adoptive father, a machinist, instilled in young Steve a profound respect for craftsmanship, for making things not just work, but beautifully work, down to the unseen components. It was a lesson in meticulous detail that would define his life's work. Steve was a bright, unconventional kid, often at odds with traditional schooling. He found his true calling outside the classroom, in the Homebrew Computer Club, a legendary gathering of electronics enthusiasts. It was there he met a quiet, brilliant engineering whiz named Steve Wozniak. Woz was the hardware genius. Jobs, the visionary who saw how Woz's inventions could be put into the hands of ordinary people. In that cramped garage, a revolution began. Wozniak designed a circuit board, the Apple I, a truly personal computer, long before such a concept was mainstream. Jobs, with his uncanny ability to see potential, convinced Woz they could sell it. Not just to hobbyists, but to a wider audience. In 1976, Apple Computer Co. was born. The Apple II followed, quickly becoming one of the first truly successful mass-produced personal computers. It was approachable, colorful, and thanks to applications like VisiCalc, incredibly useful. Apple was a rocket ship. Jobs, barely into his 20s, was at the helm of a burgeoning empire, a disruptor shaking up the established tech giants. He was driven, charismatic, and intensely demanding. He pushed his teams to think different, to create something truly magical. But Steve was never satisfied. He saw beyond the command line interface. A pivotal moment came with his legendary visit to Xerox PARC, where he witnessed early graphical user interfaces Gizeh and a mouse. He instantly grasped their potential for making computers intuitive, human-friendly. This visit would fundamentally change the course of computing. His vision culminated in the Macintosh, launched with the iconic 1984 Super Bowl commercial. The Mac was a declaration of war against the status quo, a promise of liberation from faceless corporate machines. It was beautiful, artistic, and revolutionary, with its GUI and mouse. But its high price and limited software meant it didn't immediately shatter IBM's dominance. Despite its initial struggles, the Macintosh laid the groundwork for how we interact with computers, even today. The very intensity that fueled Apple's early success also created friction. Jobs was a perfectionist, notoriously difficult to work with, and clashed frequently with those who didn't share his unwavering vision. In 1985, after a power struggle with CEO John Sculley, a man he had personally recruited, Steve Jobs was ousted from the very company he founded. It was a devastating blow, a public humiliation. For many, it would have been the end. But for Jobs, it was merely a painful, yet necessary, detour. Far from defeated, Jobs channeled his boundless energy into new ventures. He founded Next, a computer company aimed at the higher education and business markets. The Next machine was technically advanced, perhaps even ahead of its time, but never achieved widespread commercial success. Yet, it was during this period that Jobs refined his approach, learning valuable lessons about business and product development. More significantly, Jobs acquired a small computer graphics division from Lucas, which he renamed Pixar. Under his leadership, and with the creative genius of John Lasseter and Edwin Catmull, Pixar transformed the world of animation. Their first feature film, Toy Story, was a monumental success, proving that computer-generated animation could tell deeply emotional, compelling stories. Pixar's triumphs gave Jobs a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of the power of storytelling and creative collaboration. Meanwhile, Apple, without its visionary leader, floundered. A succession of CEOs struggled to innovate, losing market share to Microsoft and Dell. The company was bleeding money, its once bright star fading fast. By 1996, Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was a fallen giant, desperate for a savior. In a twist of fate that seemed pulled from a movie script, Apple acquired Next in 1996, primarily for its advanced operating system. With the acquisition came Steve Jobs. He initially returned as an advisor, but quickly took the reins as interim CEO. The prodigal son was back. His first move, the legendary Think Different campaign, a powerful message that reminded the world, and Apple itself, of its core identity. Jobs wasted no time. He streamlined Apple's sprawling product line, cut redundant projects, and immediately focused on design and user experience. The result, the iMac G3, a vibrant all-in-one computer that wasn't just functional, but fun. It flew off the shelves, signaling to the world that Apple was back, and Jobs was once again at its visionary core. But his biggest act of disruption was yet to come. In 2001, in an era dominated by clunky MP3 players, Jobs unveiled the iPod with 1,000 songs in your pocket. It wasn't just a music player. It was a cultural phenomenon. It revolutionized how we consumed music, made Apple a household name again, and paved the way for something even bigger. The iPod's success wasn't just about the device. It was about the ecosystem. The iTunes Store, launched in 2003, offered a legal, easy way to buy digital music. Jobs negotiated with notoriously difficult record labels, convincing them of his vision. He understood that software, hardware, and services needed to work together seamlessly to create an unparalleled user experience. This holistic approach would become Apple's undeniable strength. And then, the ultimate game. On January 9th, 2007, Steve Jobs stood on stage and declared, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." He wasn't wrong. The iPhone wasn't just a smartphone. It was a revolution in design, interface, and capability. Multi-touch, a full web browser, a truly intuitive experience. It shattered every expectation and set the standard for every smartphone that followed. The iPhone wasn't just a product, it was a paradigm shift. The launch of the App Store in 2008 further cemented the iPhone's dominance, creating an entirely new economy of developers and applications. Then came the iPad in 2010, another device critics initially scoffed at, but which quickly defined the tablet computing category. Jobs, the once fired founder, had now led Apple to become the most valuable company in the world, consistently delivering products that reshaped industries and enriched lives. Throughout this incredible comeback, Jobs battled a personal struggle. Pancreatic cancer. His health visibly declined, yet his passion for Apple, for creating magical products, never wavered. He continued to present keynotes, to drive innovation, to push his teams to think different, right up until his final days. On October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away. The world mourned the loss of a true icon, but his legacy lives on, not just in the sleek devices we hold in our hands, but in the very philosophy he instilled. That design matters. That user experience is paramount. That technology should be an extension of our creativity. And that true innovation comes from thinking different. Steve Jobs was a complicated man, brilliant, inspiring, infuriating, and undeniably a genius. He taught us that the intersection of technology and liberal arts is where true magic happens. He showed us that even after being knocked down, you can come back stronger, more focused, and ready to change the world. His story isn't just about Apple. It's about the power of vision, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. He didn't just build products. He built an experience, a culture, and fundamentally, he built our modern world.